I cannot believe it's nearly been a year and a half since we launched the last Urban Banks. That was Bristol, and it was epic. I so enjoyed doing it. Great fun out with Jordan, obviously the lady at the Park Lake, which caused a bit of a talking point. A year and a half down the line, and I'm sadly not sitting here going, right, I'm off on a mission. I'm actually sitting in my little old shed, and I'm basically going to recap on what I have been up to. On top of a very busy job, a new baby, still a busy social life even though I've turned 30, I have still managed to get out on some urban adventures. If I think back, I suppose the last thing after going and doing Bristol was probably heading over to Telford. Did a bit of a session over there with a young lad, and we went to some really cool park lakes, caught some nice fish. Well, there you have it, another Urban Banks carp. I'm down today in the West Midlands with my new mate Andy. Andy actually bid a significant amount of money to Guide Dogs for the Blind to come out and do a day's fishing with me, and it's been brilliant, mate. Thank you very much. Yeah, another little Park Lake stunner. Check out where we caught this one from. Sneaky! I've been over to Birmingham with my good friend Tom from Foster's, and we tackled a lake underneath the Spaghetti Junction. It just weren't meant to be, you know. Had a bit of a hiccup the first night. Tom and I were fishing, lucky enough to get a bite. Had a little stiff hinge in a bay, and it sort of rattled off, fish on, yes, but it's done me in a snag. And Tom was sort of by my side, and we were both sort of deep breathing, come on, we need this one, we need this one. And after a bit of to and fro, it cut me off. Absolutely gutted. We sort of went back to the umbrellas and sulked, I suppose, you know, it's fishing though. Anyway, minutes later, Tom's had a take, and he's picked up the rod and he's reeled in this fish, and it's coming back right across the sort of lake, and he's going, it feels a bit strange out. Anyway, he's only gone and netted it, and it's my fish with the rig hanging out of its mouth, my trailer, and he's picked it up. Anyway, the next day, Win and Ollie come, and try as we might, we fished really hard. The fish were in a sort of spawny mood, the weather was all over the place, and I just couldn't get another bite. Tom did go and catch another small mirror, but it just weren't enough to hang a piece together, but it is one we'll revisit in the future. As well as that, I found a right naughty little park lake just round the corner from where I live. It's mad, you know, I've been in this part of Essex for 8 years now, and still I'm finding little surprises. And this little park lake, it's on Canvey Island, and it's right in the middle of the town itself, and it's a big long bit of water. Very lawless. It's a bit like something out of Shameless. There's all houses all the way around it, and kids riding around on motorbikes and fireworks going off, and your typical park lake scenario.
Absolute peach. Canvey Island. Freezing cold December day, and I'm walking around finding groups of fish. They started to group up, and they're not in big groups, but they're in groups of like 5, 6, 7, 8. Just lowering a worm on top of them, and they're dropping straight down, sucking it in. Literally that one there, I've hooked it, and it's just gone boom, boom, boom. Did not see that one coming. Check this out.
No one sort of controlling it, free fishing, but some beautiful mirrors to be caught, you know, some real scaly ones. And I've had many an enjoyable session just going down there with one rod, a few hours. You know, I've spent a few Sunday mornings over there just enjoying myself getting a bite.
Well, there you go, what an absolute peach.
that sort of took us through to sort of around Christmas time, and after that I sort of made a pledge to Win and Ollie that I was going to really start, you know, putting some effort into trying to pull another Urban Banks out of the bag. But typical me, I wasn't really thinking things through properly, and you know, the first one of those adventures was going up to Middlesbrough, and I've never been to Middlesbrough before, but after speaking with Mick and Lee, Mick Henderson and Lee Birch at the Sandown show, they were like, bruv, you've got to come up to our way, you've got to come up and come do a piece with us. I said, yeah, I'll come. So yeah, long drive up there, I think it was 5 or 6 hours, it might have been 6 odd hours, got to Middlesbrough and there's fire engines and sirens going off everywhere, another naughty, lawless place. Eventually found a park lake and did the night with Lee, and it was freezing cold. We both fished really hard, chopping and changing things, zigs, bright fluoro singles, casting around all over the swim, and by the morning we'd still not caught anything. Mick turned up, you know, so we're now 3 man deep to really try and put a fish on the bank. Worked really hard all day, chopping and changing, moving about, trying all manner of things just to try and nick one bite. What I tend to do if I'm fishing anywhere new is I'll try different things. So you just heard Lee. Lee's now going to reel one of his rods in and put a zig on, and he's going to try that because we haven't caught, and you can sit there for days and not catch, whereas a quick change of saying can sometimes bring a bite. So on my 3 rods I've got a different method on each rod just to see if one will work, or if it does, if one of them goes, I'll bring in another rod and put it on the same one. Sadly the results were, they just weren't there to show, you know, but it was a really good day. Lee kindly put on one of the sort of big northern Facebook social media sites that I was down doing a bit of fishing, and they come down in the flocks, mate, and I met so many cool people. We had so many great conversations. It was just a really lovely day. Lads brought us down fish and chips. But before I knew it, it was time to sort of get on the road again, head back on the motorway. By now it was dark, and I was due to go and meet Reedy and Ollie in Manchester. Well, just pulled off the M62. I've got about 5 minutes left of the journey, and I'm going to be at my first spot in Manchester. It's the moorings. It's on a canal. There's probably 30 or 40 boats there. I've been and looked at it a few weeks back. It does look proper good for a bite. But after the day I've had, you know, I've got to play it down and go there and think, you know, it might not happen, it might not happen, but that's not the way to look at your angling. You've got to go there positive. I'm thinking there's loads of boats, those fish are going to be held up underneath it. I'm going to get some baits right up tight up the side of the boats using a bait boat, and hopefully lure them out from underneath to snaffle my hook bait. Anyway, a few minutes left to go. Go and see Ollie, go and see Reedy, check out the spot and get the rods out. Pretty hungry, so hopefully we can grab a bite to eat. Yeah, let's get some carp on go. After Reedy sort of rung Ollie and done a chicken dance, you know, what's the dance called, Old?
The chicken shuffle.
The chicken shuffle, yeah. It allowed the KFC to be brought down, and we sort of tucked into a KFC before sort of going through the plans for the next couple of days. The first night involved us going to a place called the Moorings, which was a really awesome canal spot. Frankly speaking, I wish we hadn't ordered KFC because it was on the, you know, the canal sort of split on a corner, and then it went into a big marina, and on that corner was a lovely pub, and we could have got a mixed grill or some steak, but anyway, had our KFC, wandered down to the canal, and blow me down, there's a geezer already fishing there. Now this is February, I'm thinking, wow, awesome, you know, if someone's already out doing it at this sort of time of the year, there must be a chance for a bite. Anyway, we eventually became acquainted with what we now know as a geezer called Stu, and he sort of filled us in on the local area, what's been coming out of the marina and stuff, and off we went and found a spot and started fishing. Ollie and I flicked some rods out. Ollie, the far wiser angler than I, decided to put nice big 20mm bottom baits out. There's me with a bait boat, loads of hemp and crumb boilies and maggots, and he's just looked at me shaking his head. He's going, don't do it. Don't do it. And off the boat went up the middle of the canal boat. So I was like, I just want to bite, I just want to bite, and yeah, I got some bites. By the morning I'd had 3, 4, maybe 5 bream. Ollie's still sound though, he'd had a lovely night's sleep. There's me up reeling another £1 skimmer in, another £2 skimmer. Anyway, I didn't want to sort of fail, so I got up proper early in the morning, left Reedy and Ollie sleeping, headed off around the other side of the canal on this nice big concrete area. Just thought I'd give it a go there for a couple of hours. Saw one very big pike swell, but no carp. It was then time to sort of head off into Manchester. I sort of grabbed hold of my notes here. This was our plan of attack. These were all the various spots we wanted to sort of visit. It's worth pointing out, guys, that before sort of going up here, just dropping into Manchester, I tend to put a lot of research in, speaking to people I know, ringing up the local tackle shops, going on the internet, just compiling as much information as I can, you know, to try and make it a successful trip, even though it was in February. And one of the sort of key things for going up there was this. I ripped this out of Carp Talk probably prior to Christmas, and see this lad here, never met him before, never spoke to him, name's George, and he's got this belting common that he caught from a place called the Keys. So that was our next stop the following day. We were going to head off there and have a good look round. Well, like a lot of the things I do, never wanting to sort of just go and do one thing, I sort of tied in a load of things to do, one of which was to go and have a meeting. Now, next to the Keys is Media City. Ollie and I were due to go and have a meeting with an app company. You know, they wanted to build a fishing app. They wanted to have a meeting with Nash to see if there was any sort of scope for doing anything there. So we ended up in the top of building 6, I think, I'll say like that. Just go for a little meeting, go fishing, have a Nando's, have a lovely time.
I'm in a lift.
I'm stuck in the lift. Stop it. Ironically, it was the same building that they filmed Jeremy Kyle, and on our way back out after having the meeting, there was all these trappy birds trapping off, like all smoking cigarettes outside and that. They looked a little bit out of place, to be honest, in such a nice posh area. Anyway, we sort of passed them shaking our heads, and we got down to the BBC building, and there was a lass on the door for the CBeebies sort of entrance, and she just looked at us and said, "You can tell they work for Jeremy Kyle," and we just sort of smiled and carried on walking. It's grim up north. Yes, it is. But yeah, we were right in the thick of it there, the Keys, Manchester, bang, and it is very urban, very built up, and I wanted to crack at it. I really did, you know, it's tap water clear. And if there was any possibility of us getting on fish, we were going to go and find them first. So that's what we did. Ollie and I set off, and we walked the whole way around the Keys, Polaroid glasses, and just searched and searched and searched. And after an entire lap of everywhere, and stumbling across a couple of carp anglers, which was a bit of a shock, we never saw a fish. Not one little perch, not one pike, not one bream, no carp, nothing. Nice angler. Nice to see other people out and about doing it. He's got a bag of bait with him. He's obviously keeping it going in over the winter on a few spots. They're in here. They're in here. They're real aspirational fish. This would be, dare I say it, a fish of a lifetime. Albeit it might only be a 12-pound common or a battered up sort of upper double mirror. For me, it would be a fish of a lifetime. Yeah, this trip's not going to be the one, that's for sure, but it's one to note for future sessions, and get up here when it's a lot milder. Maybe one day have one of these fish in my photo album. Still sort of not down in the dumps about this. I was like, right, let's give it a go, and we went off to meet the legend that is George. Now, since meeting George, you'll have seen him probably on social media or in Carp Talk. He's gone on and he's caught a lot of nice fish out there. Well, we did the night with him and his mate Wes. Sort of they were on one side of a big bridge, me, Ollie and Reedy were on the other. I went hard, I got the adjustable zigs out, popping up zigs at different depths, different colour zig bugs, just trying to stop something in its track and get a bite. I put a couple of rigs out on solid bags just to see if I could pull anything down onto something, but sadly again the night passed uneventful. And that's no surprising really, guys. You know, if you really, you know, stick at it and go through those winter months, it's difficult to catch each and every session you go on, but motivation's still high. The morning came round and it was time for the next sort of challenge, and that was ITV coming down. Reedy, good friend of ours, you know, used to work for Nash. He's now gone off to work on the Northern Angling Show. He decided he'd invest a bit of cash into a PR lady, and this PR lady was going to go and get ITV to come down, and they were going to film a piece, and Reedy was going to stick a hoodie on me and Ollie, and we're going to get a bit of branding on ITV News. Well, it didn't kind of work like that. Get hooked on fishing come down, and I did some drop shotting with the kids, and it was really nice. Met Sarah and met these youngsters, and ITV did come down and they did film a piece of us, but they blanked out the logos on the hoodies. So poor old Reedy had invested all that money and it kind of never worked out. But it was a wicked evening, a wicked morning. It was interesting to see how they worked and stuff. Left them, and by that point Ollie had to get off, he had things to do, so it was on for the final leg of the journey, just Reedy and I, and it was to head over to a park lake. A couple of months before heading up to Manchester, I went and done a talk for the PAG in Doncaster. Lovely evening. I went and talked to a lovely group of carp anglers about me and what I like doing and stuff, and afterwards so many come up to say hi, and a couple of those lads actually really went above and beyond, and that was Nathan and Jordan, and they said, look, we're from Manchester, if you ever want to come up, please get in touch with us. And I kept in touch with the lads, and they mentioned a few places, one of which was a particular park lake. So after leaving Ollie, Reedy and I shot over to this park lake. It was just about getting dark, done 2 or 3 laps around it, and on the 3rd lap round we were just about to say, do you know what, we'll just fish here, when all of a sudden the fish just nutted out. Now I've been fishing for 2 days and I've not seen a single carp, so it's February and I've just seen one nut out on a park lake. I am buzzing. I literally ran back to the van, loaded up the barrow, headed back down there, really sort of faffling about and that, getting his barrow sorted. Well, I was already down there, 2 sawn-offs out, a couple of citrus pop-ups on, and I've cast them into the sort of area where I see this fish nut out, and then another one nutted out, and another one. Now I'm literally, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I started flicking just with a little catapult, some citrus over the top, and rods were on the deck, and one went. Me and Reedy have carried on the adventure. Ollie's had to go, and we've headed over to Queen's Park. It's your typical park lake. Lots and lots of wildfowl. You see some big buildings in the background. We're only a stone's throw away from a busy road. We've got here just on dusk. There's gear strewn everywhere, and blow me down, I'm setting the rods up. I've seen a show, and another, and another. Quickly got a couple of baits out over the showing fish, and I've managed to hook one. This is what fishing is all about. I've had the lows, I've gone through 3 days of blanking, and now I'm connected to exactly what I come fishing for. A proper old park lake mirror. To say I'm shaking right now is an understatement. It's February, it's freezing. I knew this was never going to be an easy adventure, and it's proven that the last sort of 3 days. However, I'm finally now hooked to a fish, and we are literally minutes away from hopefully coaxing it over the landing net and showing you guys another Urban Banks carp. But to be honest with you, this one really is gorgeous. So let's just keep it down now and go through the last couple of stages of this battle. Now that is what I call a result, and I mean a result. Thank you, Reedy. Thank you, Manchester. Thank you all the guys we've met up north. Thank you, Nathan and Jordan. This is Queen's Park. Get ready to see this. I'm on the phone to Reedy, who's acting the car park. Reedy, I've got one, brother, I've got one. Anyway, he's come running down. As he's come running down, the second rod that was laying on the floor has gone off, so I've now got a second fish on. Well, would you believe it, I'm in again. I've said it before in fishing, it's always about location. Even though it's the depths of winter and they're not particularly interested in feeding, if you can get on those fish, there's always a chance. And we've had 2 bites in probably less than 10 minutes. Look at that. Go on, Queen's Park. Go on, Queen's Park. Literally, probably 3 or 4 pouchfuls of 10mm bait. Flicked a couple of choddies off over the top. Yes. Hello, mate. What's this?
You know they've
What's this?
Such a fish here.
What's that?
Haywood Lake, Essex.
What's that?
Yeah.
Well, this is a stunning £20 10. Whoa!
Shelley, come here.
Hello, mate.
Shelley.
All right, go now.
Get away.
Well, what a stunning £20 10-ounce mirror from Queen's Park near Manchester. Gentleman's popped down and we're just getting
in
out.
Lancashire.
Haywood in Lancashire. I've been rightly informed.
Come on, Shelley.
Yeah, pristine fish, nailed on a chod rig, little 10mm bait. Just found them and give them just what they wanted.
Shelley, come here.
Awesome.
Come here. Come here.
Well, here's the other side. What a gorgeous carp. What an awesome
Shelley,
fish.
get off. Come here.
Yeah, this one's a mirror carp. Common carps are covered in scales, whereas this one's sort of sparsely scaled.
Well, here's the second one, 22¼ pounds, and what a stunning fishing, truly in its winter's colours. It's leached up all on the underside of its pectoral fins. Yeah, for sure it's been freezing cold. I was lucky enough to be here when he's woke up, had a bit of a mooch round, and ended up getting nailed. What a beautiful, beautiful fish. Yeah, just whip that fox out, though. Nah, you're all right, I'm only joking,
You know, they don't always have to be the biggest fish, it's sometimes the circumstances or just what they look like. And I've caught two incredible fish from a park lake I never visited before in freezing cold conditions. You know, it even started snowing not long after and that, but yeah, it really like put a massive smile on my face and it made the long trek up there and all the missioning around from various spots so worthwhile. We ended up doing the night there, caught a few more bream, but by the time morning had come round, the carp had stopped feeding, and it was a valuable lesson and one that I keep sort of getting taught, you know, each and every winter, and that is, it only takes a minute. You've just got to keep working at it. You know, I'd only been there 15-20 minutes, the rods hadn't been out long, and I managed to nick 2 bites, and it just highlighted again, it is always worth going in winter. You've just got to be there at the right place, right time, and just flick that lovely bait in front of their noses and you will catch one. The following day we got up and we headed over to Heaton Park, and unbeknown to us there's a massive fun fair going on. Yep, we sat up right in the middle of it, had a little dance to the music, met loads and loads of people, fed the ducks, flicked a couple of rods out, typical Park Lake tactics, loads of mashed bread, liquidised bread, some coconut cream boilies. Didn't manage to nick a bite, and by that point, do you know what, I'd had enough. As much as I love fishing, sometimes it's time to call it a day, and me and Reedy got on a blower, booked ourselves into a nice apartment, got on the phone to Spenny and Clotty and said, right boys, what we doing? Managed to find a drum and bass rave, as you do, in Manchester, got checked into hospitality and went and had a really good night. And it was a great sort of 3-day experience, and for sure, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, I will go back to the Keys. It's an amazing venue, it was a wicked night there, and I'd really like to put in my photo album a fish from such an amazing urban place. As well as Manchester, Ollie and I also headed over to Holland. Again, it wasn't sort of a preempted, let's go and film a Holland Urban Banks episode. It was more that I had to go over to Hengelsport Utrecht. Going to do an open day. I go over there every year to see Sandra and Nikki. Love spending time in their company. Cracking lads, cracking shop. So I had a bit of work to do on the Saturday tying rigs, but as you do, thought we would tie it in with a little bit of fishing. So Ollie and I loaded the van up, headed across on the Eurotunnel. And of course, every time we go on that Eurotunnel, there's always one place we've got to stop off, and that was a quick port call to see Gio and a good old Dave. And between Dave and Gio, they managed to convince us that it would be well worth popping down to the spot at Eurobanks 1 and flick a rod out on the canal, the famous power station plant, because it's always good for a bite. And was it? Literally, Ollie put a pink citrus on, lowered it in by that outflow, and within minutes the rod's buckled over and he's into his first Belgian carp.
My first Belgian carp.
Caught a lovely little common, but before we knew it we were back on the road again, heading into Holland itself. Like I said, we're off to a place called Utrecht. Now, I've visited it the last couple of years, and I fished a little park lake actually in the city itself. It's a little bit on the D-low. Few of the good local anglers know about it because it contains one very special mirror carp. And when I say park lake, it is a proper park lake. It's tiny, there's a little stream coming in it and it exits out the other end. There's an island. It couldn't be any more typical park lake if you tried. There's houses around it, football pitches, people walking their dogs, but there's a mirror about 45 pounds swimming around in it, along with a few backup fish. So Ollie and I were really eager to flick a couple of rods out there and you know, see if we could bag a fish or two. Sadly, it didn't work out. The closest we got was Ollie walking up to the edge, flicking his head torch in the margin and looking at me going, bruv, there's a fish. Sort of wandered over there and just about saw a carp sort of mill off back into the depths. We fished the night, didn't manage to catch anything. Think I probably caught some bream there as well, but this is not Bream Banks. So before we knew it, it was time to pack off back into the tackle shop, and set up all the demonstration stuff ready for the Saturday. Had a really good chat with Nikki and Sander. Spoke to them about the most likely spots to go, and to be quite honest with you, them lads and some other locals that we spoke to in the shop said it was still too early. You know, the fish were still in the big lakes. They hadn't moved into the canal systems yet. It wasn't spawning time, and we were stacking the odds really against us, you know, with the thought of going and catching a carp. But thought we'd still give it a go. We went off in the afternoon. We fished this really quaint little canal, again with a 40-pound mirror in it. Well, you could literally flick a boilie on your finger across it. It's tiny, really shallow, and try as we might, walking up and down it, sawn offs, flicking rods out here, there and everywhere just to nick a bite, we never managed to actually find any carp, let alone hook one. And that evening we headed over to a big sort of power plant, which is I suppose I'd class it as a medium-sized canal. There's a canal system, and coming off the canal system is like a lake, I suppose, and in the middle of that lake is a big like water treatment plant, something like that. We're probably a little bit early, in fairness. Water temperature's still cold, but you never know. Give it a go. I'm going to go and get myself some milk, make me and Ollie a tea. I'm going to have a coffee and get the rods ready for the evening. I'm going to keep things nice and simple. You know, it's dead flat out there. I've had a little feel around. Yeah, flick a couple of choddies, bit of bait round it, and maybe try a tiger knot on another rod with a little bit of particle. Try and stay away from those bream and just catch a carp, but yeah, we'll see.
Come on, the Dutch carp. Yes,
I hear the slideshows are very funny.
Yeah.
That has made me very, very happy. We had a result, man. Sanders come down with some dinner, and before I knew it, Ollie's had a take, I've had a take. We've got a couple of mirrors from freezing cold conditions in Holland. Massive result. Check that out. A burnt orangey brown colour. What a lovely Dutch carp. Beautiful. That's not why I might have a run out. It's a bream.
Bream King.
Nice one, Al.
This is not Bream Banks. I am not photographing Bream, Alan. And this one was caught on a double pinky.
Well, a single pink, would it?
Well, single.
In the back?
In the back, mate, just below the dorsal.
Nice, good shooting. No bream rolling in here, Al.
Next day we went into the tackle shop, and I really, really love these tackle shop days. Get to meet so many people, you know, teach them stuff, and sometimes I'm learning from them, and lots of conversation, carpy stuff. And it's always really nice to be able to go in there having caught the night before. So yeah, walked into that tackle shop in the morning with a big smile on my face because I've managed to catch myself a mirror. And yeah, had a great day, really busy, but before we knew it, it was time to get back on the road again and head off to Amsterdam. Oh yeah, we were going to have one night in Amsterdam just to see if we could nick another bite or two. Did the typical thing. We already had some boys over there actually, Matt and a few other lads we know. They were over there for a lads weekend. Went and met up with them, went and had a nice steak.
Can't resist a little look.
Before I knew it, I was in the most shady part of Amsterdam trying to position my bed chair somewhere where I couldn't be seen by the masses of people, and I flicked a couple of rods out and yeah, caught some more bream. I think I'd had 3 bream by the morning, but you know, I'll be honest, I never moan. I never moan about it. It's the cliche, my rig's working, my bait's working. Yeah, you can say all of that, but I just like it when that bobbin goes beep, 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 and I've got a fish on. So yeah, it wasn't carp, it was bream, but it was a bite, you know. Ollie went and stayed with the lads in a nice apartment. I woke up on the canal, to be honest, glad that it was daylight hours and I could sort of relax a little bit. And went and fished a really lovely spot where you could get down to the water's edge. There was boats, tour boats coming past, and I watched the sun come up and yeah, just took it all in and thought, you know what, I'd love to come back here and do a proper piece. But before we knew it, we were back on the road and we headed over to a series of park lakes in Amsterdam city itself. Again, got formed for doing some really, really big fish. Try as we might to find them, found one sort of decent fish in the snags, give it a couple of hours there. Police turned up, had a little chat with them. What happened? Oh, did they want us to not fish or no?
Well, we were walking through the bushes with a camera.
Yeah, it was all a bit shady. But anyway, we had a good chat. They let us carry on fishing. Give it sort of 2 or 3 hours, but it just weren't going to happen. We just couldn't find the fish. And before I know it, back in the UK, and the summer had come round. Now, I don't know why. I can make all the excuses in the world, but just didn't really get back into doing things. It's a busy time for us for many, many reasons. Putting DVDs to bed, developing all the new product, all the shows, etc, etc. I can make excuses, but the next stop was Eurobanks 2, and I can't really say a lot about that because that is the next thing you'll probably see after this. Yeah, went off with Ollie on a very, very long overdue, proper adventure. That van got filled to the rafters. We'd done the miles, 3,000, was it 3,000? 3,000 miles across 7 countries. God knows how many Red Bulls, God knows how we did it, to be honest. Like, it was pretty much a full-on trip that will stay with me for a long, long time. It was a blockbuster, and I can't wait for Win to finally get the time to sit down and get it all edited up, and I can't wait for you guys and me to sit down and actually watch it. And I suppose that brings me to a close. In a couple of weeks' time, I'm getting out with the legend that is Alfie Russell. Sit back and check this out. This kid catches so many fish, and I can't wait to pick up a few tips from him. This is Alfie Russell. See you guys soon. Check out Eurobanks 2, it's going to go off. Enjoy your fishing, all the best.
Yes, Alf.
Sweet.
So where are we going today, bro?
I've actually found this new little park lake. It's kind of hard, it's in the middle of a road, like a ring road with all houses around it. Don't know much about it. Seen carp in there, maybe a few, maybe, I don't know, 20 pounders, upper doubles at least, a few nice mirrors, so I think it's worth trying to go catch one or two. Lovely day today, and I think probably worth a shout. Don't know what's in there, so it's all fun and games.
Yeah. And that's the fun bit, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the fun bit, don't know what you're going to catch. Right, so we just got down the lake now. Actually on the way, just round the corner is a tackle shop, so me and Ollie stopped off to get some maggots. Had a little walk around and we've already seen some fish in the edge. Gonna give it a little go, freelining some maggots at them quickly, see if we can nick a quick bite. It's gonna get warm today, so we're not too sure what the fish are gonna do. They might start spawning, they might not. But I'm gonna keep my options open, probably bait a few little margin spots with some hemp corn, some chopped tigers, a little bit of maggot. Have a few laps around the lake, keep trying, keep flicking some balls of maggots on any fish we see. The lake's really shallow, so even if there's fish cruising out in the middle, I can free line some maggots over them, draw them back. And I've actually had a fish in here before doing that, and it's followed the maggots down to the bottom and took the maggots on the bottom. Where it's only a foot deep, they've only got to tilt down a couple inches. They're sort of nailing the bait, so I'm going to give it a little go now, see if we can nick this quick bite before the sun gets really high and it gets too hot, and the fish might have something else on their mind. But as it's cool and it's late morning now, just going to see if we can catch one quickly whilst the chance is there. These ones are really small. Try and get a better one. Sucked it in though. It's only a really small one. But on a hard day like this, to me, that's just as rewarding as anything else. He's only small, but he's certainly put a smile on my face. But yeah, I'm chuffed. Hopefully try and catch a bigger one. Well, as you saw, I had that little ghostie on 3-line maggots about half an hour ago now. I've seen a couple nice fish cruising about and milling about. I think I'm going to go try and stalk one in the edge off the bottom or something, try and catch a bigger one. I've just got some pellet here, some crushed tigers and hemp. So I'm going to make a little mix up, just walk around, bait a few spots in the edge, keep checking them every now and then, and hopefully I'll get some fish feeding and some of the better ones close in. It's pretty silty, so I should be able to see the silt coming up and them fizzing up when they get on the bait in the edge. This mega pellet mix actually has quite some big pellets in it. I'm just going to take them out. I'm just going to put some small ones in. It's mainly hemp, a little bit of crushed tigers just to cloud the water up a little bit, and a little bit of pellet, as they love pellet, and hemp and crushed tigers, so it's just a little mix. I'm not going to go too mad. I haven't put all the bait in the bucket because I'm only going to be baiting with literally that on each spot. A little handful, very simple. Let's go bait a few spots and hopefully get some fish feeding. That was in his mouth, wasn't it?
Yeah, man, he had it. Lucky that was a better one. Oh, you've definitely got the tree there. Hold on.
This hig flow's quite strong. Bloody hell, he had that. Well, I persisted with walking around with the maggots and trying to get a fish to take them. I had that little ghostie this morning, but I really wanted to try and catch one of the better ones as I seen them swimming around all day. Saw a couple fish tails up just on a little spot on the edge that I baited earlier with a particle that you see me mix up. Dropped a little multi-rig on the spot and it went off within about 15 minutes. He's not massive, but he's certainly welcome and he's bigger than the last. There's some nice ones in here by the looks of it, so I think I will be back again. But as for now, I'm pretty chuffed with this one, so I think I'm going to head off home. Lovely times.